What's up, Anatomy? This is the second video that I've made of the same subject because I just got done with the first one and forgot to turn the mic on. So this is video attempt number 2 because of, I don't know, the big brain moment that I just had. Here we go. All right, so we are going to talk about a little bit about homeostasis and negative feedback loops. Basically, how do they keep you alive? Because they are one of the big reasons that we get from day to day. Now, this is mainly for cohort number 2 who are home on the smoke day, because yesterday, cohort number 1, you already got this information. So you guys can go do something else. All right, hop over to Photoshop and get this stuff done. And yes, the mic is on. I can see the little thing moving. All right, Photoshop we go. Okay, before we start talking about negative feedback loops, just really quickly, little biology retake. Of course, the opacity is set to the wrong thing. Okay, here's a word you've probably heard of, and you should know. Homeostasis. What is it exactly? Well, if we break it down into its Latin roots, we get the word homeo, which means same, and stasis means state. So this is your body's same state, or I'm going to call it steady state. Okay? Your body has several different steady states. Let's look at some of them. We could probably list 4 really fast off the top of our heads. So what are these steady states? These are anatomical processes that have to happen for you, me, all of us to be alive. Without these steady states, we would have a lot of problems. Okay, one steady state we can always talk about. First one most people think of is body temperature. Normally, on average, it's at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, some people run a little hotter, some people run a little cooler. That's fine, but that is the average. Maybe you took your temperature before and it wasn't quite 98.6. Maybe it was a little more. Okay, so that's one steady state. Another example would be your heart rate, resting heart rate. For the most part, you know, depending on your exercise, everything, if you're doing the same things every day, if you're sitting down or standing up, your heart rate should stay pretty much the same. Obviously, it'll change on outside forces, but that's good. Another body, what did I just say? I'm having one of those days today, guys. It's just one of those. Maybe I need to talk to John and see what he has to say. Now, John looks pretty confused too, so we'll just push on. Embrace the suck, as they say. And every time I press one of those buttons, the pen color changes. Extra fun in Photoshop. Okay, how about blood sugar? Body definitely has a steady state there. There are a lot of steady states, and homeostasis is the process where different organ systems, organs themselves, blood chemistry, everything works together to keep you at those steady states. Now, one of the mechanisms where all these tie together is what's called a, this is our star word of the day, or term, or idea, is a negative feedback loop. Now, it's got the word negative in it. I'm going to put a happy face next to the negative because these are good, okay? They're what keep you at the steady state, any of those that we just listed. So what exactly is a negative feedback loop? Negative feedback loop is, it opposes a change to a body's steady state by an outside force. Now that outside force, it could be, we'll go over an example and make a loop of this, but it could be anything. It could be body temperature. You go really hot outside, what kind of changes your body going to, what's it going to undergo to try to oppose that extra heat? Now the opposite of a negative feedback loop is a positive feedback loop. Okay, a positive feedback loop, even though it has the word positive in it, I'm going to put a sad face next to that. For the most part, not always, positive feedback loops aren't a good thing. Because what they do, instead of opposing a change to the body from an outside force, they're going to accelerate the change. And this, for the most part, is not a good thing. Negative feedback loops can become positive feedback loops. Example of this would be, okay, you're outside exercising, it's hot, but you're working out hard, you run out of water, but you keep exercising, it keeps getting hotter. Your body makes changes to fight this. You're sweating, your blood pumps faster to get muscle to the blood. I mean, your heart pumps faster so you can get blood to the muscles. How about that? I have a real urge just to turn the camera off and sit down right now. All right. So that's normal, okay? But if all of a sudden your body starts to run out of water because you ran out of water in your bottle and it's getting hotter, well, these changes, the accelerated heart rate, the blood pressure, all of that can kind of run out of control. And a positive feedback loop will accelerate that until something, you're going to need outside help to get that body temperature back down. Okay? Heat stroke, obviously, can kill you unless you do something about it. The opposite of that would be like hypothermia. Instead of being too hot, you're too cold. And once again, the body will use a negative feedback loop to oppose that change in temperature. But if it keeps getting colder and colder, then it starts to accelerate those changes, and bad times are had by all. Okay, let's look at one of these negative feedback loops. But before we do that, I said positives were always bad. Here are some good ones. Let's say you have, get a piece of dust in your nose. Your nose doesn't like to have dust in it. So what the body does, it feels a little uncomfortable, but it keeps making it more and more. It accelerates that change of it feeling uncomfortable. And what happens? You start sneezing. Okay, that's a positive feedback loop. Cough is another positive feedback loop. One that women undergo, pregnancy, having a baby. That is a type of positive feedback loop. So they're not all bad. All right, clear up some space because we're going to make a diagram. Yay! All right, let's obviously we'll name it the negative feedback loop diagram. That was probably wholly unnecessary for me to write that because you guys already knew that. Well, I'm going to use my amazing, not cheating with Photoshop, straight line drawing skills to make my handwriting look better. Okay, so we got to start off with a steady state in some organism to start this loop. Let's bring back our old friend, anatomy mascot, Brain Guy. Okay, so let's draw Brain Guy. I wonder if Brain Guy is having a bad day. Okay, there's right and left hemispheres of the brain. Put some gyres and some sulcus in there. Little optic nerve. It doesn't really come dangle out like that, but why not? Let's make him look a little different. Oh, Brain Guy kind of looks scared for some reason. He's not sure what's going to happen to him in this loop. Alright, there he is, in all his glory. Okay, we need a steady state. Well, let's use the temperature. Okay, so Brain Guy, even though he doesn't have any skin, so it's going to be hard to do, or muscles, his steady state for his body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, we're going to call this in the loop, this is going to be object number 1. And over here, we'll go number 1, and that will be the steady state. Okay, so everything's good. Brain Guy's fine. But he decides to go outside, and it's February. And Brain Guy locks himself out of the house without his jacket. And wouldn't you know it, because it's February, it starts to snow. So here's my patented snowflake technique. Looks more like he's floating in space than a snowstorm. Okay, it is 18 degrees out. It's pretty cold. Okay. Now what that causes to happen is this little thermometer here represents temperature. It starts to drop. So because it's dropping, it's the force that's trying to change the steady state of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So we'll label this number 2. That's a mini 2. I should probably make these numbers bigger so you guys can see them. This is number 2. We'll call this the negative force. Okay, that's what's trying to change the steady state of 98.6 degrees. Alright, let's start the loop. So let's just make an arrow that goes swooshes over here. Swoosh. Arrows make that sound. Even when you shoot them bad, they still swoosh through there. Okay, so something's going to have to realize, some part of the body is going to have to figure out that something's wrong. So we are going to draw that structure now. So at about 45-degree angle, let's draw some kind of a bumpy line. And kind of, it's like you're drawing seagulls together. Remember when you draw seagulls on a picture look like that? Well, here's some seagulls flying in tandem. So just draw these things. Kind of go like that. Wondering if any of you have guessed what we're drawing yet. The next thing will be a dead giveaway. Much more so than the Droodles that you do. Okay, I'm going to draw there. That should tell you what we're drawing. No, not yet. All right, we'll add to it. Okay, down here, just go down, make a squiggly line here. More so than the ones you just drew. And then you kind of make a cube. Looks like, well, it's skin. That's a cube of skin. It looks more like a really bad piece of birthday cake. That's kind of gross now that I think about it. I don't think anybody... Actually, that would be a good idea for Halloween. If you could bake a cake that looked like a cube of skin, that'd be gruesome. Right, well anyways, within this skin, you have these sensory structures. They look kind of like trees, and they go all the way up, almost to the surface of the skin. They're all throughout this. Some of these little structures, sensory structures, they do things like pressure, like if you're squeezing something. They might do light touch, like you're ticklish, but the ones that go way up to the top are these little bulbs on the end. They're temperature sensors. Okay. So let's label this number 3. We'll call this, go figure, the sensor. Sensor is the part of the negative feedback loop that collects information. Now in this case, it's collecting that it's getting colder. If we want to actually see what this looks like, we can compare our fine cube of skin to a model. Well, let's go look. Let's see, senses. There you go. We put all the detail in, but there is the skin. Now you can see right here, maybe you can't. Let's bring up old Epic Pen. Right here you have these little branching structures. Right there. Okay. Some other ones over there, so that would gather information from the outside environment. We're talking, it would know the temperature. Should have them all throughout here. Some more over there. Okay. Back to Photoshop. Okay, the next thing that has to happen after the sensors have gathered information, they have to send it towards the brain. Now, by the way, the sensors, temperature sensors, they don't know that it's cold. Okay? It's the same thing. If you smash your thumb with a hammer, the nerves in your thumb don't feel pain. All they do is collect information. Your brain's going to determine, is it cold, does that hurt, and then what the response is. So that signal from either of those, either from smashing your thumb with the hammer or feeling the temperature drop, that signal is sent towards the brain, and any signal that goes towards the brain in a nerve is called an efferent signal. So we'll call that, this will be structure or thing number 4. Okay, so up here for number 4, it's called an afferent, A-F-F. E-R-E-N-T, afferent signal. Now there's a specialized structure in your brain. So let's draw a side view of the brain. It's looking more like a cloud than a brain. Okay, there's our occipital lobe, there's the parietal lobe, frontal lobe. Might as well throw in a temporal lobe here. Unfortunately, it looks more like a dinosaur or a bear. Look, if we just put an eye here, went like that, and put some ears on it, we would have a bear. Can you tell this is the second video? All right, back here we'll have cerebellum. Here's our central sulcus. Throw some gyres and sulcus in there. And put the brainstem in. Okay, there we go. We drew all that just so I could draw right here in the center this structure. I'm making it bigger than it actually is, so this dark area in the center is the part of the brain that decides how to control temperature in your body. It's like the thermostat in your house. Okay? Your body has a thermostat, and it's this structure. The name of that structure is called the hypothalamus. Okay. This will be object number 5. Now, we're going to go look at this. Let's go take a look at it, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go away from the skin. Let's go to systems. Okay, now it's called the hypothalamus because it's the structure below the thalamus. This right here is the thalamus, the right side of it. You can see if we go like here. There. So we have what's called bilateral symmetry. That means we have the same stuff on the right half of the body as the left half in a lot of things. Okay. So we should be able to find something below the thalamus here and call it the hypothalamus. So let's go find it. So we get rid of this. Let's hide that. Go down there. Let's get rid of this ventricle. And so here's the thalamus. I would say right here is the hypothalamus. Okay, see it? Now we'll click on the left side because they dissected the rest of it. That's what controls all temperature regulated functions in your body, aka the body's thermostat. All right. Okay, so number 5, the hypothalamus, has a general term for anything in a negative feedback loop that decides what changes need to be made, are called an integrator. Okay, an integrator. Decides what change or changes need to be made to get it to steady state, and in this case 98.6. There we go. Mind blown yet? Mine is. I just wanted to use it, sorry guys. Okay, so the integrator where we had an efferent signal that comes to the brain, the integrator is going to send out a signal along the nerves that goes away from the brain. So we need to draw an arrow. And of course, I have the gray going again. I've just realized a problem. Every time, you probably can't see it, but every time I hit one of these 4 buttons over here, it changes the color of the pen. See if that'll focus. I haven't tried that. There it is. See that pen? Change the color. Look at that nice blurriness behind me. I like that. I still don't know how to use the camera. There's about 1,000 buttons on this thing. So far I've figured out play and record. Okay, so this signal, it goes away from the brain. We'll call that number 6. And a signal that goes away from the brain is called the efferent signal. It's easy to get those two confused on the test, afferent and efferent. Afferent towards the brain, efferent away from the brain to the body. Okay, so it's sending a signal out. It's decided to change so we can stay at 98.6. It's got to figure out how to generate some heat. Well, the majority of your body's heat comes from muscles. So let's draw a muscle. Got the tendons on the ends. I'm going to flex on you with a little bit of my anatomy muscle and let you know this is a fusiform class of muscle. Let's throw some muscle fibers in there. Why not? Okay, so what is the change going to be? Well, you might notice one of the first couple things, let's go through getting cold. Let's say we live back in Chicago, where I used to be. It'd be about 10 degrees for high temperatures during the winter. So you go to open the front door, you open it, you get this blast of frigid air in. Well, negative feedback loop kicks in. First thing that happens is your skin gets really red because the integrator or hypothalamus decides that you need to have blood pumped to the surface of the skin to keep it from getting frostbitten. If you stay out and you keep getting cold, then it's going to take that blood back in and you're going to look paler because it's going to save the warm blood for the organs in the body. And it's going to make some other changes. You might notice, if you've ever been cold and you've been so cold your teeth chatter and you can't stop shivering, well, that is on purpose. Because shivering, that contraction of the muscle fibers, is going to generate heat. That's why you shake. Okay. So we're making these official vibration or shaking symbols right there. So the muscle is going to vibrate, and when it does, it's not really going to vibrate. It's going to contract, relax, contract. But you won't be able to control it. So to you, it'll be shivering, but heat will be given off. Okay, we're going to label this number 7. And we call the structure, organ, process, whatever, that the integrator sent the signal to is known as the effector. Or you could just say effector, but effector sounds better. It's more fun. All right, what is the effector? Well, if the integrator decides to change, the effector makes the change. Okay, it makes the change that will fight the negative force. Oppose it. Then the whole thing starts over again. That's why it's called a loop. Now I know some of you are going, will this loop ever end? Well, negative feedback loops are always going on in your body. This one particular, it'll stop. Well, there's two things that can happen. And only two things. It'll either keep your body, get it back to 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, then it will stop the shivering and all the changes it tried to make. Or it can't, and your body temperature will keep lowering. It'll go into a positive feedback loop, start accelerating all these changes, and then you die. So, negative feedback loops are good. Yay, thumbs up. Positive feedback loops are usually bad. Thumbs down. Just like dropping my pen is bad. I guess I deserve punishment for that. I'm back. Okay, there you go. Negative feedback loop. Let's go back to talking head mode. So hopefully when I see you guys again, I don't know when this Snope, I'm glad this is the last video today. When this smoke goes away, let me check it out. I'm gonna go look, see how it looks. Looks bad, but not as bad as yesterday. I hope it doesn't get any worse, but hopefully it's gonna go away, and I'll see you guys again. And we'll make ourselves I know you'll be dying to do this, a negative feedback analogous cartoon. That sounds awesome. Okay, that's it for Smoke Day. I'm out of here, and I'll see you next time.